Once you touch it, hit your
Hello, Richard. Okay, good evening. We're going to get underway. I am going to do the Friday announcements. First, to start off, at very, very sad news. I'm very sorry to report that our president, David Tripp, passed away Wednesday, 2 days ago. This was unexpected. Dave gave his all to the club. He held down, unlike any other president, the competition chair because we couldn't find a replacement, and the presidency for that year. And it was a tremendous amount of work, but he loved the club. He really did. And he will be sorely missed. I'm just finding out information on the funeral, and I am going to post that all on the website tomorrow on the homepage. And what I'd like to do now is just have a moment of silence in Dave's memory. Okay, and Dave would have wanted us to go on with the show. I mean, I talked with him at great length. Even the week before he was in, we were talking and planning, and he was very dedicated to CPS. So the show is going to go on tonight, and we'll go on with our Friday announcements. Next Friday, it's going to be live here. Deb Zimmerman, who does this kind of yearly, and great, is going to do the tabletop workshop for Macro. Deb has many, many interesting items that she brings in to photograph, and everyone brings their cameras, and it's just a great time. So that's next Friday at the clubhouse here. March 14th, we have an in-person live presentation. Justin Foster, who is local, he's from the area here. And it's transforming athleticism into art. He does senior pictures in a lot of different settings, and is going to really talk about his method of how he does this. Then March 21st, we have a Zoom presentation, Shades of Vision. Alex Kilby, my journey through black and white photography, how he really got into photography and then got enamored with black and white. And he talks a lot about that. So that is March 21st. The clubhouse will be opened. March 28th, our own Coleman Rosenberg is going to be here talking on sports photography and some of its great photographers as well. Very, very interesting. And that is a live presentation. Upcoming CPS exhibits, Porter Library. The theme is going to be water. And so I didn't forget. Water, seascapes, rivers, lakes, waterfalls, abstract and conceptual compositions, macro photography, reflection, textures, creative and experimental works. So everything goes. It's the beauty, power, and versatility of water and all of its forms. Entries will be accepted March 10th through April 11th. Up to 2 entries accepted from each member. The show runs June 1st to June 29th. And please check the CPS website under the exhibits page, and that'll have a lot more information there about the upcoming exhibit. Name badges, again, anyone who needs a name badge, replacement, or new member, I have a sign-up sheet over there on the easel. Just write your name as you want it to appear on the badge, and about every month or two, we make up a batch of badges. CPS positions needed, respond to the information tab under the volunteers section on the website, or it's the information section, down you go to volunteers. Competition committee chair or hospitality chair we are still looking for. And again, all of these meetings that are public meetings are on YouTube, on our site. So you go to our homepage of the website. That icon there is the YouTube icon. You click on that, but when you get to the YouTube page, you have to click on live there. And that takes you to all of it in date order. You could just look back and see any of them as well. So with that, yes, let's get on to tonight is photojournalism. And let's get on there. And I have to tell you ahead of time, if my mic goes out or whatnot, I'm sorry, this is a volunteer organization, so I'm very proud of this too. These are about 30 years old, the cord, and the cord is broken, and we tried tape and paper mache and everything else to hold it together, and it wouldn't, because it's $129 just to replace the cord, no matter where you go. But I found one on Amazon for $22. Now, so I figured, what could the club lose? I mean, because we need a bunch of them. So I'm trying it out tonight, my $22 cord. So if all of a sudden it starts squeaking or whatnot, or things too, it was with good intent. So with that, let's get on. We will bring up our images. And first up tonight is Bob Kowaleski.
Great. Oh, wonderful. The name of this photo is, yes, it's on. Can you hear me? Okay. Saving the Cuyahoga Valley National Railroad. This is down in the Cuyahoga Valley, and this was an embankment, erosion repair. And you can see the railroad tracks over there and the equipment. The amazing thing to me was getting the equipment in the water.
That's actually down. Oh, that has like treads like a regular one. It actually went down in the water.
Absolutely. Right. Tracked vehicle. They just tracked it right into the river. And it's kind of interesting watching them work. And of course, there's the supervisor. Yes, every job needs a supervisor. Okay, the next one, please. Okay, now this is in the Badlands. Now, I walked into this gentleman's photograph, And what I call this is you are in my shot. So unknowingly, I moved into his shot to take a picture of that peak, and he was taking a picture of the peak that I was moving into. And you can see the energy that he was passing on to me. Right. By the way, I did catch up to him, and I learned that he was from Missouri. And you know, the folks from Missouri, everyone's a friend of folks from Missouri. The next one, please. Okay, this is in the Badlands, and this is looking at this peak from Zabriskie Point, which is a very famous photo shooting area. This is shooting towards the northeast. Now, what we have here is, I call this the first anniversary. I was watching this young couple traverse this entire trail going up to this peak. And at each juncture where there were rocks and there were difficulties for them to get over, he always made sure that his lady was by the hand, helping her through. And they're taking a selfie up there. That was 2 years ago. This past spring, I received a call and an email from Abby, and I provided them, by the way, a photo several years ago. And she called me and she said, you know, our anniversary is coming up, and I'm hoping that you can provide me with a large photograph so I can present it to my husband. And so this is the photograph that I took then, and then we were able to make it a large size photograph, and that's Abby and her husband enjoying a selfie. And that's what I have.
Okay, these are Bonnie Luxo's images. The first one is Firefighters Monument. Colorado Springs held a hot air balloon fest, and my brother showed me a different perspective for photographing the balloons. I stationed myself at the Firefighters Monument and was able to capture some unique images, including this one. Next one is entitled Energizer Bunny Balloon. This Energizer Bunny hot hair, H-A-R-E, air, everybody get it right, balloon flying in Colorado Springs is 166 feet tall, 15 feet taller than the Statue of Liberty. His shoe size is 98 EEEE and has 84 miles of thread. He flew from 1989 to 2016 when he was replaced with a slimmer version and then retired.
You mean that's an actual hot air balloon?
Yeah,
But that's
just apparently not flying anymore.
that would scare the heck out of me. If I looked out my window and
This one is called Bubble Fun. During a hot air balloon festival in Chagrin Falls, the Bubble Man entertained the children. This little girl is extremely expressive and having so much fun. This is OSU Band at Put-in-Bay 2024. While the OSU Band rode the Miller Ferry from Port Clinton to Put-in-Bay, they played many songs. They marched off the ferry and paraded through downtown, stopping several times to play Ohio. In the afternoon, they changed into their dress uniforms and performed a concert at the base of Perry's Monument.
The next photograph is Carmela Orban. On October 2nd, 2024, the Band Wagon, an initiative of Penguin Random House, parked in front of the Lakewood Public Library to hand out free books. All of the books distributed have been the subject of a book ban in the United States. The children exchanged a ticket for a book.
Dave Korosek's images. The first one is entitled Amish Bike Boys. We spent a 5-day weekend in Holmes County last Labor Day weekend. According to the local tourist magazine article I found, Most non-Amish think it's against their religion to be photographed. It's actually not against an Amish person's religion to be photographed. The Amish religion does, however, prohibit posing for photographs. This one is called Amish Woman in Green Vest. The Amish community is known for their strong beliefs and traditions, one of which is their refusal to pose for photographs. They believe that photos show a distinction between themselves and God's creation, which goes against their humble nature. Instead, they prefer to be captured in a natural setting where they are not posing or drawing attention to themselves.
And that's interesting as I look at that. And I don't really know. Isn't that an electric bike? Are they allowed, do they, as part of the religion, use electricity or is it, maybe they're allowed to use batteries? I just don't know, but I just,
I think there might be different
Yep.
sects of Amish, I think.
there's different sects then. Yeah, that interesting.
This one is called Amish Buggy Family. I had a somewhat hidden viewpoint where I was able to capture these images as the buggies crested a hill near our place. We were only in view of each other for a few seconds, and only a few seemed to notice me as they rode quickly by. This is Amish horses Townschwagging, if that spelling's right. According to the Amish Tourism Guide, if you ask an Amish person for permission to take their picture, most will politely say no, as this could be construed as a willingness to pose. Most Amish say they could not care less if people take their picture, provided the photographers are respectful. Some Amish have recounted stories of tourists driving up their driveway and boldly walking onto their front lawn to take a photograph. We later found out that they were all heading to a rodeo a few miles down the road. This is Amish Girls Biking Pair. General attitudes towards photography have been evolving, at least among certain segments of the Amish population. This may be due to increased Amish contact with the world, due to an occupational shift that has seen them opening businesses requiring greater contact with outsiders. Attitudes to photography typically vary among individuals as well as between the different Amish orders. Amish also acknowledge different approaches to taking photos. On the whole, the Amish remain wary of picture taking, but it's probable that Amish attitudes to photography are softer today than they might have been 10 years ago. And this last one, I'm not sure we're on the right. It should be his last one. It's Amish wagon and black and white. Do you have such an animal? There we go. Got out of order somewhere.
Yeah, so one of them probably didn't have a description. So
Yeah.
this is probably the Amish girls.
Final advice from the Amish Tourism Guide. Here in Ohio, Amish country, being a high tourist area, the photography rules are a little less strict. That doesn't mean a photographer or tourist can be disrespectful. No means no. A turn of the head means don't. Don't photograph my face, and by all means, do not trespass on private property. And that's the last of
Yeah,
his.
this brings up that interesting point, though, about you talk to street photographers and whatnot, and they cite the law, and the law is that you are legally allowed to do it if you are on a public street or whatnot, but it is not right to do it. You know, legal doesn't make it right. And so, you know, I agree with Dave completely on if someone says no, you really shouldn't be taking it. So.
This photo's by Denise Meekins. The Vietnam Veterans Memorial is a place of deep respect and remembrance. It's a young woman kneeling at the reflective black granite wall, tracing someone's name. She's remembering a friend, a loved one, someone she will never forget.
This first image from Gary Merrick is sheep herding. Sheep being herded from grazing on Hans Peak, which is in a summit on Routt County. Colorado has an elevation of 10,774 feet. Sheep in Colorado may graze in one area for 1 to 2 days or up to 2 weeks. The length of time depends on the season, vegetation, and other factors. Sheep are herded and moved to keep alpine vegetation healthy.
Did I miss something, or is there something hurting the sheep in this? I don't see the sheep herder or a sheep. They're self-herding, maybe. I see that. Yeah, it's a beautiful. Maybe they just have done this so many times. They know the routine.
Maybe he was shy. There it is. Okay, this one's called Shepherd. For most of the year, shepherds operate alone in the remote deserts and forests of the western United States on horseback, accompanied only by guard and herding dogs. They manage foraging flocks of sheep that number more than 2,000. The work is carried out by immigrant workers on temporary H-2A visas that permit them to work in the United States for up to 3 years at a time.
Gary anticipated my question.
This is called Campito. A campito, or mobile wagon, where shepherds live throughout the American West. Ranchers move them by trucks at various points of the year to coincide with the movement of the sheep, from the mountainous forests to the deserts to private ranch land. And his last image is called Shepherd's Dog. The shepherd is accompanied by sheep herding and protection dogs. Sheep are herded and move on to keep alpine vegetation healthy. A herding dog, also known as a stock dog or working dog, is a type of dog that either has been trained in herding sheep or belongs to one of the breeds that were developed for herding. A sheep guardian dog is a dog type bred for the purpose of protecting sheep from predators. Dogs stay with the group they protect as a full-time member of the flock or herd.
And these photos are by Joe Smith. The first one is called Just Chillin'. This couple staked out in their spot on the sand on a chilly San Diego afternoon. Extra blankets keep them toasty warm. Next. Looking cool. This talented frisbee thrower showed all of his tricks, tossing and catching, and he made sure that he looked good doing them. Mother and daughter. These two ladies were running on the sand and playing catch me. Mom tried a while, but her daughter continued the game alone. Take that. This tall young lady was the best player on the sand. She spiked the ball many times. Practice makes perfect. This woman was practicing her volley before her upcoming game. Concentrating on the ball sharpened her skill. Battle at the net. These guys were stretching tall and extending their limbs over the net for a spike. The harder, the better. Beach sports. This is a Sunday afternoon on the beach in Carlsbad, California. Beaching is a lifestyle for the San Diego suburb.
Okay, this first image by John Paganini is called Walking on Water. Looks like Italy is an empty, frozen world with ice stretching endlessly with a determined man walking. His gear packed with essentials. I don't know about that Italy. There's the type on here is like Greek. You can't help but wonder if the ice is stable. It's lonely out there, no clear destination in sight, adding to the mystery of where he's headed and the quiet courage behind his solitary trek. This is Lake Erie rush hour. Two people walk across the thick, snowy ice, each carrying or towing fish gear, one with a backpack and the other pulling an orange sled. The Fairport Harbor Lighthouse stands in the distance, its white walls and red roof catching the sunlight. Scattered footprints and sled tracks and fishermen highlight unusually heavy traffic out on the lake, turning this frozen expanse into a kind of wintry Maine.
That looks like, is that just ice with the snow off of it? I don't think that's water there, that would be real thin. It's probably just glare ice.
And this is called Hook, Lens, and Sinker. Seated comfortably on a low chair, the fisherman is dressed in a thick waterproof outfit to help against the frigid conditions. A small hole in the ice sits in front of him where he's dropped not just a fishing line, but also a specialized underwater camera that feeds live video to the black monitor at his feet. It's a clever high-tech setup. He can actually watch the fish hover around his bait on screen before reeling them in. If you look closely, you'll notice that he's guiding the fish line with his gloved fingers, poised to respond the moment he spots a nibble on the underwater display. Ice fishing in 2025.
Jordan Tetzel. Is Jordan here?
Thank you. So I visit a racetrack in Erie, PA. It's called Lake Erie Speedway. A few times a year. They do a bunch of different events there, but the ones that I attend the most often are called drift races. If you're not sure or never heard of drifting, it's essentially sports cars, race cars, rear-wheel drive. They go really fast around really tight curves, and they're spinning their wheels, creating a lot of smoke and going sideways most of the time. Most of these shots are from a late fall event where at the end of the night, they line up a bunch of pumpkins along the wall of the racetrack, and they try to slide or drift their cars into the pumpkins without hitting the wall. This year, it got rained out, so I didn't get any photos of that, but I got a few before the rain hit. So this is a shot of two modified BMWs. They made one of them up to kind of look like a spooky jack-o'-lantern. But I just liked the matching kind of or opposing colors of both these guys' cars. They came together and did a little match. So I always go with my buddy Brian. This is a photo of him. We do our best to try to film the same events so we can get multiple angles, multiple shots of the same thing. We run a YouTube channel and a couple social media accounts together, so we always try to have multiple angles and multiple shots of things to create more like long form videos. And this is him. We both use the same cameras and similar lenses, Fujifilm XS10 and XS20s. And that's his 50 millimeter to 230 millimeter lens with a Rode microphone. And we like going to this track because they let us wear our own vests, which we made a couple with our YouTube channel's logo on the back. That's what he's wearing. You can't see the logo, but that's what we both look like when we're out there. So these are some of the cars coming off of the track. You can imagine being out on a hot racetrack, your tires spinning, creating a lot of smoke. They get really hot. So what they do is they make this little pool of water with a garden hose, and you can run off the track and run through the water to kind of cool off your tires. And I just liked the color palette of the lineup of cars and the way they were angled. So when I said a lot of smoke, there is a lot of smoke. This is just a silhouette of some of the other photographers and spectators up against the fence, with the racetrack being down inside on the other side of the wall. And then this is a shot that I got from down on the track. Normally I'd be shooting this in landscape, but the sun was putting my shadow on the ground that I noticed, and I just thought it kind of looked interesting and tried to get it into a shot of the car flying by. It's a little bit of a challenge, but after 800 shots, I got one. And was just one of my more favorite shots. This is early 2000s NB Miata. I own one myself, so I was more than pleased to try to get a bunch of photos of this one. I just hope one day mine will look that cool.
So is this it's all drifting is what they do?
Yeah,
Is it a circular track?
It's the track is circular, but then they'll use like cement blockers to make it like a bunch of curves in the inside. So they're just basically just going around a bunch of turns, so they have every opportunity to kind of kick the back end out and spin the wheels. And then they'll do different games and challenges and contests, you name it. Yeah.
All right. I like to wander in my car, and lots of times I like to wander down along the lakefront. So some of the ones I'm showing tonight are from wandering on the lakefront. It was cold, like about 8 degrees above zero, and I went over to Edgewater Park just as the sun was starting to come down, and I took this shot. And I'm not the only one that likes the winter. Look at all those people out on that ice. And this is down at the end of Martin Luther King. I went down and saw that, and again, the water was frozen, the lake was frozen, and I was lucky enough to see these 4 women walking along. They all had phones, and they were all taking pictures. I'm sorry, that's my phone too. Sorry. On my way downtown, I went by this bus stop. And what I've written here is, I was waiting for the light to turn green. And again, I have great admiration for the people who can't get around as well as I do, who do get out and do get around and go ahead. So I took that quick picture there.
Were you driving?
Yes,
Wow.
I was.
Because I think you can't text and drive. You could photograph and drive.
Down on the east side pier, they have completely redone all the brickwork. It's taken them a long time. They cut the bricks down there and they lay them all the way down to the front. So I'd been down there a couple of weeks earlier and seen them doing it, and they're getting almost finished. So it's quite an art. I asked them if I could take the picture, but I took it when they weren't looking at me.
You said they cut those bricks to size?
They cut them right there. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, they've got the big bricks and then they cut them to fit right there on the pier. So that's an art. And I think it's really pretty interesting to watch. And then they have the sweeper that comes along afterwards, after they've laid these in the sand. There's somebody who's coming along, sweeping the sand down in through the cracks and off the edge. This too is on the lakefront. I think you all recognize the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And that, I don't know whether they're repairs or whether they're adding something there. But I sat there and watched the men moving the crane around as they were building that up. And this is my picture of our lakefront. And I brought this deliberately because I'd like you all to imagine what this would be like if it had beaches and restaurants and walks along the lake instead of what we've got there.
Maria, when I came here in the 60s, they were talking about what to do about the lakefront. Yeah, it's this voice that when I came here in the 60s, they were talking, showing pictures like this and say, how could we make our lakefront better to you? So this has been, I agree with you 1,000%, but we just seem to have been talking forever.
Yeah, apparently the mayor of Chicago got out at one point with an earth mover and dug up the airport out there. And now they've got a pretty nice lakefront. So anybody wants to take that on here, we could finally get a decent lakefront. So.
Okay, this is in Cleveland Heights. This is a little controversy that we're having in our city. This is at the intersection, it's a T intersection at Taylor and Fairmount. And this guy's having an argument with the city. Apparently there was a guard there. And I guess somebody hit the guard and they took it out. They wanted to kind of make it a little bit better. The city put these boulders in here because what's happening is this guy has had 4 cars hit his house. And they come down, I guess, Taylor Road. They just keep on going, and they end up on his lawn. They've hit his house. They've gone into his garage. They've hit his car. And it says there, I can't get homeowners insurance anymore. He's had 4 hits on his house. Apparently, his homeowners policy has been canceled.
Yeah, I saw a whole show about him and heard him talk. And what's amazing is not to get into this is any politics. This is just the system. All he wants is the guardrail back that he had originally. But there's all these regulations and things too. I feel for this guy.
They actually put in a speed bump about 100 yards back. There's a speed bump. And they've got blinking lights there, but that's not what he wanted. And apparently the city put those boulders in. That's what I was told, but I can't really verify that for sure. It's kind of quite a sight to see. Okay, this is over in Geneva on the Lake. This is after the December snowstorm. They had 4 feet of snow, and the city of Geneva had to do the clearing of the road and the business district. This is Main Street. And they actually did not have the vehicles. I was told by a resident that the city did not have the equipment to be able to move the snow. So they had to hire a construction company to come in and remove all the snow. I talked to a citizen, and he says that they're not really quite sure how the city is going to be able to pay for all this. So kind of an interesting thing. You can see where there's a bench on the main street there, and the front end loader guy has marked that, so he knows that that's there. And I got a few other pictures. Oh, as we travel, my wife Kim and I, we do a lot of traveling, and we happened to come across Bigfoot. Bigfoot's real big out west, but this is an eastern Bigfoot. We found this one in Pennsylvania, and I titled this "Stealing Candy from a Baby" or ice cream. And then this was just I worked over the summer in Acadia National Park, and I traveled extensively around that area. This is Millbridge, Maine, I'm sorry. And just a kind of a neat sign that I came across. Okay, this is in Maine again. This is in Korea, Maine. These are actually the town folks from Korea, Maine. They all got dressed up for this particular shot. And the lobster fishermen in Maine are having a big controversy. It's about the right whale. There's about 300 right whales left in the world. And so the federal government is trying to protect them. What they've done is they said the lobster industry traps with all the buoys and the ropes and so forth is getting the right whale entangled in there. And what they're doing is they're setting up a system where there's only two boys, and there'll be like about 20 cages, and somehow they're electronically going to raise the cages up, the traps, to get the lobsters. Lobster fishermen say, no, we regulate our own business. We've regulated ourselves for years. Do not let the federal government come in and control us. So all across the Maine coast, this is a big controversy with the fight of the right whale. Many of the people that you talk to will say, well, I've never even seen a right whale in my life. So it's a big controversy over there.
Okay, let me remember what I have here. This is my final few from when I was over in China. And one of the things I just like to see are just the people around. And I was watching this kid for a while, and these two kids were having the greatest time just fooling around again. And I just love the expression on his, I don't know whether he told them a joke or whatnot too, but everyone else, their parents are looking at the thousands of year old structures and whatnot and everything. But kids are kids. I mean, they just, their little bottle of pop and whatever, and they're having a great time. So that is just from there. This was very interesting. There's a lot, this is in the city of Xi'an. And at night, people are out, the temperatures are real high, and everyone is out at night. There are a lot of just foot traffic, and there are vendors just all over. And I like this one because she is lit up by her, her lighting is by her phone in a sense. So, and actually, she has several cameras there. And what this sign says is this is pictures. It's 10 yuan for one picture and 50 yuan for 6 pictures. And this is Polaroid down here, which is 15 yuan again. So she has a Polaroid, which will make Polaroid type pictures, and a regular camera that she could print over and will tape people's shots along there. Now, I do not speak Mandarin, but the reason you know all of these, and at the time I didn't know what it meant too, is it's phenomenal. First of all, you live over there. No one speaks English in most places, but everyone has Google Translate. And you talk to people, you just talk into your phone and show them. They'll talk into their phone and show you. But the interesting thing is Google Translate, which is free, also has the camera in there as well. So you press that. If there's a sign in Chinese, you just press your camera thing and hold it up, and it shows you it in English. And what I found is interesting, getting somewhere with this, is in this picture afterwards, after I had made it, I just took my phone, put it up to the computer screen, and it shows the sign in English. So if you have any, and it does any language, if you have any pictures from overseas and whatnot, and it has a sign in another language, German or whatnot, and you don't know what it is, just hold up your phone with Google Translate there, and it actually shows it in English. But I thought she was just interesting, lit up by her phone. Phones are, I think we talked about this last time I showed some pictures. It is very hard to do street photography anywhere in the world nowadays because there is hardly anyone that you can get a candid with. Everyone is on their phone. So if it's a shop owner and whatnot, and he has a few minutes, there's no customers there, he's on his phone. People sitting on the street waiting for a bus and whatnot. So I find 90% of the pictures I have people looking into their phones. And like I said, it doesn't matter what country you go to. It just shows you, it's just become ubiquitous. And this is, interesting. I learned that when you travel out in China, when you're outside of Beijing and Shanghai or whatnot, there you go to a restaurant, there's chopsticks, but they'll also give you silverware. You go outside and you're some of the smaller towns, there is no silverware. I mean, it is chopsticks and that's it. So, and the next thing you usually hear someone say, well, I learned to get very good with that. No, I did not. You learn to eat less things too. But I was amazed at the Chinese. They have it down to the rice and everything else. And in soup, the noodles. And I watched this guy, before I started taking pictures, I just watched it because I want to see how they all did it. And really, the chopsticks just get the soup up to the mouth, and it's all just sucking from then too. So it literally is just, and you're just watching all the markets too. It's get that first part of the noodle up, then suck the rest out there. And their noodles are long too. So I thought this was just an interesting shot. This was lunchtime in Xi'an. I just like this. Yeah, this candid again of these two, which is very interesting. They're Muslim, and this is a mosque. In Xi'an, there is a Muslim quarter, and actually they have a Muslim population. Most of the Muslims are in the Uyghurs, who are located in the western part of the country. But in actuality, too, in Xi'an, which is mid to eastern part of the country, they have a formidable Muslim population with a mosque there, a very, very old one. And they are just regular Chinese, but it's very interesting to see them in the women and men in the Muslim dress. So this was just before the services at the mosque. And again, I just like this candidly too. I have a bunch of them, but all of a sudden when he broke into laughter, I don't know what it was about, but. And this was just one of the men on one of these. This was down the Yangtze River, and it was a little side village and whatnot. And he was just going down, and that's everything there is done, carried on the back or with bamboo poles across the back in a lot of the older places. And he has an old lantern there. So I just thought it was just a very, very interesting sight. So got that. And then there's the street performers, which you get everywhere, but they're really unique here because you get the older people that come out. They're just dressed in their underwear or whatever, or the shorts, and they're just out there on the streets there. And he was just singing away. The battery's in the mic, and you could hear him all the way up and down to no one in particular. And a lot of them really like doing this. And the funny thing is, if you notice, there's no bucket here or something for he's not doing this for money or to make a few things too. They just enjoy doing this. And so basically he's out there I watched him for the longest. He's just out there singing away and whatnot too. And that's just for it too. So an interesting sight there. And then there were these ladies. My wife plays mahjong. I know nothing about mahjong too. And she goes, but I went there, and you see wherever you go, this is in Xi'an, you see these tons of tables just every place they shade, and these ladies playing mahjong. Really like old ladies too. And I'm telling you, on some of them, not on this table, there was not enough light in the indoor ones where I were, but there were a number of them where there are piles of cash on here, like bills that just did all. And they are playing, and they are concentrating, and they are ruthless as well. They snatch that money and whatnot, and they play for keeps there too. But it was just amazing watching them again. So these are for the ladies just playing mahjong, and also again knowing nothing about mahjong except that there are tiles, and the tiles after you play your game are shuffled, and they're mixed up. And then you set them up again. That's my limit of knowing. So in this, I'm watching, and they finish a hand, and all of a sudden I'm saying, what the heck was that? The middle of the table opens up. This is an electric mahjong table. The middle of the table opens up, and everyone pushes the tile into the hole in the middle of the table. Underneath, there's a shuffler. It shuffles them up, and then there's little trap doors on the side here. It lines up 10 of them and shoves them up right in front of them. And I was just, I'm going to learn to play if you get me one of those tables as well. So it's done all over the country, and a lot of the little ladies play this. And again, it is just really interesting to watch. So that's a little just insight from there. Okay, and then we have Wally.
Okay, in Cairo, the Coptic Christians have this thing where they tattoo their kids with the sign of the cross early in their life, and is being done over there. Next one. I was at a Sudanese refugee church service on New Year's Eve, and they were just having a good time there. This happened when Egypt beat Ghana in the Africa Cup soccer, and people by the hundreds of thousands flock into the squares, and they use like spray cans and fire, and that's how they celebrate. So I went in there and I just used a bit of full flash, and the rest just in a slow shutter speed. And this was during the Egyptian Revolution. On this specific day, there was about 1 million people in this one square, and yeah,
Was that Tahrir Square?
Tahrir, yeah. And that was on the day of anger. Just lots of stuff happening everywhere. The day of anger, lots of tear gas. I can still smell it. It just never leaves your clothes. This guy on that same day was wounded, and I believe he died. And people just hauled a taxi and stuffed him in the taxi and drove him off to get some help. So this is just shot wildly through the window. Some parts are sharp and some's not sharp, but it tells a story.
We have one more, just another submission we're going to bring up on another. Okay, Don Keller, we'll give Don a mic in the back there.
If you bear with me, I'd like to share something quickly about the Amish. We saw the buggies. We saw them being pulled by horses. My wife and I, some years ago, bought some furniture at a factory down in Amish country. Very, very high quality, made by Amish. And we were there one day, right up until closing. When they closed the door and sent everybody out, we jumped in our car, rode about 7 or 8 minutes to a local restaurant, went in to have a meal. About a half hour later, the owner of the store we had been shopping in came down in his buggy. And I realized we jump in the car and we're down there in zip in no time. This man had to go out to the barn, saddle up, prepare his horse, connect him to the buggy, and then ride the buggy down there. All of which took a heck of a lot more time than we spent. In Yellowstone, there was this group of, it looks to me like Asian folks, and it must have been their guide is speaking to them, and it looks as though maybe her desire was to help focus her voice to her group because she's using that card, but she's got it on the wrong side. So from any member in her group, that card is probably preventing them from hearing what she's got to say. Next, please. Arches National Park. This is my wife's favorite spot in Arches National Park. It's called Park Avenue. I have this photo enlarged and on the wall. I've had it for several years. And I can remember the day I took the picture. I believe she asked me to do it. She wanted the picture. So I dutifully got out my camera, snapped the shot, looked at the review. I looked for focus, exposure, composition. I decided, okay, that's good enough. Let's go on to the next one. More recently, no. I'm sorry. I was referring to my wife.
Oh,
A couple of months ago, my eyes were opened. And I would like to say I appreciate that CPS is to a great extent making good pictures outstanding. And I respect that. My thought is, let's not lose the meaning in order to make it look better. Because the real meaning of this photo is not just my wife standing there. It's her personal excitement. This is her favorite spot. And it's almost as though she's saying, hey folks, look here. This is my favorite spot. And I have a new appreciation for it. Now, if you would do the next one, please. Special Olympics basketball. Wonderful story. If you look up on the scoreboard, it's 22-4, coming to the end of the first period of the game. And you see the blue team on the left and the white team on the right. The blue team had the 22 points. The white team had the 4. The white team just couldn't make a basket. They just couldn't do it. Prior to this shot, the coach of the blue team called timeout. He called his team over to the sidelines. And I can say this because I asked him. He told me personally. I said, Coach, what did you do when you called your team over? He said, I told them, help them score. Not let them score, help them score. So what you're seeing is we're down at the end of the court, which is the white team's basket. Somebody took a shot. They didn't make it. The blue team recovered the ball. They're giving it right back to the white team. I asked the coach, why did you do that? He said, because I've been on teams getting beaten like that myself. He said, I didn't want them to suffer the pain. The white team began to score. They were severely beaten, yet they were able to leave the court with their heads held high because they had scored a bunch of baskets and had score up on the scoreboard. Thank you.
okay. Thanks, Don. I think that concludes our images of tonight. Thank you very much to all who submitted images. And we will see you back next week.